All right, round one. We got a solo run here with Cloud for to be a hero. Titan. So you're going to use Prime mode, and I like to use Sonic Boom after as well to get the buffs going. And then the goal here is to go into Prime mode and start to chop away at Titan. Certainly opportunities to counter him, to counter the punches and the slaps, avoid the stomps. And you have to be careful too about, he's got a move called Thwack, where he just kind of does like a bull rush, and I believe it's unblockable. So you have to just be on the lookout for that. He can do it whenever, but once you get to ATB, you can hit him with an Aroga spell. Titan's weak to wind, and then you chop away in Prime mode. He'll be stunned here. He's not staggered, but he's just stunned after the Aegis breaks. Chop away in Prime mode. You can see the pressure gauge is way up because there was another Aroga done, and then essentially you'll get him into a staggered state. You can use the focus thrust there if the stagger is close and get him there. And then it's just keeping going with the Prime mode. I hit him with a Thundaga there because I have Thundaga hooked up in this build to MP absorb and HP absorb. So, it's managing MP, but eventually you just keep hitting it with the Aroga, and then he'll go down pretty easily. All right, the next round coming up is going to be against Ogre Raider, and there he is. This fight is pretty easy. Lots of opportunities to counter. Ogre Raider has some big attacks like the Berserker Bash and Furious Blows. Furious Blows you could definitely counter in Punisher mode. Berserker Bash you want to block. And I do Prime mode and then Plasma Discharge. You can alternate between Plasma Discharge and Sonic Boom. I like to do Plasma Discharge here because of all of the counters. I think it does a little bit more for you. To start off with that, Ogre Raider is weak to ice. You can use Blizzaga. Although I have Thunder Materia, or I'm sorry, Lightning Materia hooked up to a Swiftcast. So that's also an option here, but and there it is. I also have Thunder Materia hooked up to to HP absorb, MP absorb as well. But you got to keep countering these, the club and the blows and the furious blows and the smashes. You can counter all of those, and eventually you just keep using. In this case, I'm using lightning, and if you can sneak in a Blizzaga, meaning if you have enough time between his moves, which typically between the furious blows, so you have enough time if you counter it to get a Blizzaga in, then he falls down pretty quick. Next round is going to be against Phoenix, and this is also, in my opinion, a very easy fight to win if you have the elemental and fire and ice materia on the armor line. It just becomes very easy because basically all of Phoenix's attacks are fire attacks, and he essentially cannot damage you outside of maybe one attack or so, but it makes the round very easy. So he's going to spawn 3 enemies, and with my setup, I just use Thundara each time, and each time I gain some MP back as well, right? Because of the MP absorb I have linked to the lightning materia. But it's basically just Prime mode, be patient through the spawns. Each time use Thundara. You might have to hit the bomb, do a few sword slashes there, but falls eventually. You also want to use, I use haste as well, and before the right after the final spawn, and the final spawn is dispatched in this case, I then use a Sonic Boom. So you got 4 buffs. So 4 abilities going. You've got Prime mode. You've got the Plasma Discharge. You've got the Sonic Boom, and you have haste. Right. So a lot going here, but makes it pretty easy to win. Here's the Sonic Boom. So then Phoenix is weak to ice. So you want to make sure you have 2 ATB, hit him with Blizzaga. Now, sometimes with Phoenix, Blizzaga can be a little kind of, you know, flaky in terms of actually hitting him. It does hit him most times, but if he's doing a certain move, he can kind of fly right through it. So you just have to be careful with that. But ultimately, once you hit him with the Blizzaga, it's pretty much over with all of those other enhancements. And this is a pretty easy round to win. All right, the next round is against Sea Dragon. This is round 4. This is probably the easiest round of this gauntlet, in my opinion, to be a hero with Cloud, especially if you have the elemental and the fire protection or fire and ice materia linked to that elemental. Essentially, Sea Dragon, he can damage you with physical attacks, but he eventually reverts always to a fire attack. So if you have that materia and the elemental, he really can't defeat you here, except with one thing. There's one thing he can use, and that's that hurricane ability, which I badly mistimed my escape from. So you can see I almost got taken out there, but didn't. And then because I have Thunder hooked up to HP Absorb and MP Absorb, it was fine. But that's really all that can get you. It's a pretty easy fight. All right, upcoming is round 5 against Kujata. It's a pretty easy fight as well. It can be annoying depending on the elemental form he turns into, but you start off with a Punisher mode counter always, and typically you could pick up close to an ATB there, and then he typically comes in and you can again get a counter in, so you almost have 2 ATB to start the match. And then you want to, for abilities, do Prime Mode, you want to do Plasma Discharge, you want to do Haste if you have it, and if you can find the time, Sonic Boom is good to have as well, because this is a heavy. I have a heavy build on magic anyway, so that faith buff is nice to have. All right, so he has an ice elemental form here. I'm going to throw Thundaga to keep him just with ice, so he doesn't have 2. Again, I have the elemental protection from fire and ice, so he can only really damage me with one particular. I think Ferocious Lion is the only thing that can damage me, but you know, it doesn't do a lot of damage. It just paralyzes you. So you wanna, and he's the ice form, of course, so you use the opposite materia or opposite elemental. I have Faraga available, so blasting him with Faraga, going into Prime Mode, and then just continuing to build ATB and doing it again. You have to keep an eye on MP here, depending on your build and setup. But in my build, so attached to the lightning materia, I have MP Absorb, so able to sneak in a Thundaga every now and then to keep the MP high enough, because I have had it run out in this gauntlet. It got too low, and I did end up getting taken out. Thunderous Stomp is another attack that he can do, but you know, as soon as you see it, you just kind of move out of the way, and then it's just being patient, chopping away. Kujata has pretty predictable pattern. He does kind of those gores back and forth. He does a bull rush every now and then. He does the stomp every now and then. And once you fight Kujata a number of times, it becomes pretty easy to recognize his patterns. And that whether he's in elemental mode or just the normal mode, you just keep chopping away with the Prime Mode to build up to ATB, and then attack him with, you know, your strongest level 3 magic, and that's it. Pretty easy fight. All right, the next fight here it's round 6 against Jabberwock. I'm not a huge fan of this particular round, but I found a way to make it super easy because he kept turning me to stone, and that's essentially using the resist spell and just keeping your distance from him. So start off with the Prime Mode, and then immediately a resist after an ATB boost. Once you get that resist on, it becomes pretty easy. So you want to stay, you know, to the sides and behind Jabberwock as much as possible. See, there's the Mythic Curse. If you stay behind him, though, it will not hit you. He's got some kind of strong-ish attacks that he can get you with his claw and just like a bull rush. But if you stay to the side, if you stay to the back, if you just keep chopping away with prime mode, you get the plasma discharge as well. And don't forget with the with the materia that has resist. So you can also, with the time materia, so you can also just stop him altogether and freeze him down. There it is there. And this is nice too, so you can essentially here get like a free level 3 spell in on him with no worries. Jabberwock is weak to fire, so if you want to use Haraga, it's a good time to do it. And then, basically get a level 3 spell in, build up to ATB, get another level 3 magic spell in, and just keep moving along here, and eventually he's gonna get staggered, and you just have to again stay to the side, stay to the back, and the fight is pretty simple, and so you just keep doing that over and over again, and so he's pressured now. And eventually that pressuring will get close to a stagger. If the focused thrust took him in the stagger, and this is pretty much it here. Using Thundaga just to keep the MP high for future fights, and that he's almost done, and that finishes him off. I think one more Thundaga, and that's it. There it is. Pretty easy fight. Again, if you have the resist spell on, it's super easy. All right, waiting for round 7 to start, and this is against Alexander, who's weak against lightning magic, but he has a very strong attack, so you want to be careful here, because it's Cloud solo, so you don't have counterfire on Cloud, which I typically have, which helps with the ground attacks and ground electricity, and the tracking beam, which can do big damage, but you can't really counter it. So I just try to avoid it. If you can't avoid it, you can do a conventional block, but it still does a lot of damage. So that's something you're going to be careful of. Earth Tremor, block that. And then just attack the arms essentially. So got Prime Mode going, got Plasma Discharge going, avoid the sweeps. I typically, once I have 2 ATB, I get Sonic Boom going, so the Faith buff for an ability, and then just keep going after the arms, and once you have a little bit of damage, so with the Faith buff, so you can do Thundara, you can avoid the Grand Laser here. That's something that can take you out very quickly. It just got hit by an Earth Tremor, but essentially you keep on the Prime Mode and just keep getting 2 ATB when the arms are destroyed, and you can use the Thundaga against Alexander, which does big damage and basically takes his pressure gauge up to about 50, and then you just keep doing that. And if you get him with Thundaga again, it's very close here, so he's probably got 15% of energy, and he's staggered, so it's basically over. Sometimes most times actually, he regenerates his arms, and you have to destroy them again. He didn't do that here, so it made it even easier, but that's that. All right, the next fight is against King Zhu. This is also a pretty easy fight, although it can be a little bit challenging, kind of in between the first, after you break the wings and do a Thundaga. So I'll show you here. I think I almost died on this, but I didn't. So he starts the Swan Song, right? And so you want to do Prime Mode, and then I typically do Sonic Boom. Some people do Plasma Discharge, but whatever you want to do. The bottom line is you have to destroy the wings fairly quickly, because if you don't destroy the wings quickly, King Zhu will one-shot kill you. Once you destroy the wings, then you want to get 2 ATB and use Thundaga. King Zhu is very weak to lightning, and you see he basically only has 25% of HP there, but he does these like firestorm, these like tornado attacks and things, and it can do big damage, so you have to be careful. And so what I did was just try to build up 2 ATB as fast as possible, use it against him, and that was it. If you don't if you don't, finish him off quickly, he could kind of get a cheap win, but other than that, it's pretty easy. All right, round 9, Bahamut, Arisen. Always a kind of a tough fight here due to the amount of damage Bahamut can do. Start in Punisher mode, counter the kick, counter the slash, then start to get the abilities going with Prime mode, then just stay away from him again. Without having counter fire here on Cloud, I opt to avoid these attacks. I just think it's easiest that way. Plasma Discharge going, blocking this. If you could do parries and things, you could certainly do that. I'm not good at the timing there, so I just avoid the grip attack. But what you want to have going for you is Prime mode. You want to have Plasma Discharge. You want to have haste, and so you just want to block any projectiles, and then kind of get in close with Prime mode, chop away, build up ATB. So use Thundara on the right wing and the left wing. Each time that will also, with my setup, heal you, get you some MP back, and then it will pressure Bahamut Arisen. Then you want to go for 2 ATB with the Prime mode and use Thundaga, right? That will raise the pressure gauge a lot. Then you want to get another ATB before he transforms, which was done there. I sneak in a Sonic Boom, so that's nice to have as well, the Faith buff. You want to counter the Galewind Slash. He typically does that after the first kind of transform. And then it's just doing that for the rest of the fight. So you want to break the wings every time if you can. And you see the pressure gauge, it just keeps creeping up. And the particles can hit you and stun you a little bit, but you should just stay at it. See, here I didn't get to do full level 3, but it's still okay because there'll be other opportunities to do that. You want to block the Nova Bomb, and yeah, so Bahamut Arisen now has about 50% health, and going in again to break the wings. So there's the first one's about to break, and then got to get that ATB going for the second one. There it is. And the wing is going to break there, and then go back into Prime mode and try to get 2 ATB, which is right now. Then another Thundaga, which isn't going to stagger him, but gets him really close. Then a couple of chops. Now he's going to get staggered or very close. Let's see. I think, yeah, there it is. And that's basically it. If you can get him staggered this early in the fight, it's pretty easy from there. He's not going to be able to get up from that. So just a matter of time, and then he's finished off. And that's that fight. And it can be that easy. Sometimes it isn't, but that was a good run through. All right, final round 10 against Odin. Cloud solo run to be a hero. It's always nice to make it to round 10, but then you really kind of feel like you have to win it because it takes so long. So start out with the Punisher mode counter of that sphere, then go into Prime mode. Then you want to start attacking him with the Prime mode. Eventually get the Plasma Discharge going as well. It's important to just kind of buff everything with Odin to try and finish him off early before his attacks start to get crazy. So there is the Plasma Discharge, and then want to make sure to avoid the Helm Cleaver as well, but counter all the other sphere attacks, counter all. There's the Helm Cleaver, you just roll away from that, counter the charge, counter the sphere attacks, and just keep building up ATB and using the level 3 magic and applying more buffs. So there's a haste there, which definitely helps with the ATB, and there's a sphere attack that you can counter. And then you just keep hitting him with the strong magic. Eventually he'll do Sleipnir's Furor, and the pressure gauge will kick up, and you want to get to that point, which should be coming up, I think, soon. There's another sphere there. It's very important to counter all of these, though, because A, if you don't, they do big damage. B, it just Odin then starts to go and get momentum, and it makes the fight a lot harder. So you really have to be adept with the Punisher mode counter in this. and you can get in. It's good when he does do this Slepter's Furor to just kind of be right in on him, and you can do another Punisher mode counter, and that's a nice ATB boost. And you want to, I avoid these, these stronger attacks that he goes into there. If he jumps at you, so you can counter that. It's called Swift Punishment. I think there's another one too, but that one so you can counter. Now he's staggered. He's cut about half his HP down. But you notice, I mean, basically everything I could counter, like that first whole sequence before the stagger, I did, and that's kind of what you have to do in a solo run to win. And then you just keep getting to ATB. In this case, I'm using Kandaga, which keeps the MP and HP up because of those absorb materia. I have a link to the lightning materia. And now he's going to separate the battlefield. And this is where you kind of, I think he gets tough here because it's a smaller area. He tries to do the temporary imprisonment, right? A temporal imprisonment. So I have a limit, right? You always want to keep a limit stored almost before he does this, because he's eventually, unless you kill him fast enough, he's eventually going to do the temporary imprisonment thing in most cases. And there it is, right? So then as soon as you see that, so you do the limit, that should interrupt this so it doesn't affect you. And that's crucial. And then he does the Ring of Helheim, whole lot of there with that. And so you have to remember to do that, because that does about 3,000 damage or so. And just before the ground, because the ground is hurting you, just before that almost killed me, I was able to take him out with the final spell. But it's a good, it's definitely a good solo run. Strong magic with Cloud. Not my best time ever, but it was still good to do. I'm going to go through in a minute the materia. I'll put this in the comment too to make it easy, but I did want to show it here. So let's just get to that. Got to go through the menu here. Okay, there it is. So the Rune Blade, the Cetran blade, bracer, the Genji gloves to break the HP limit. MP absorb and lightning, as I mentioned, HP absorb and lightning, as I mentioned, first strike, enemy skill, Phoenix, ATB boost, magic up, fire and ice, linked to elemental, as I mentioned, lightning and wind. I think I accidentally glitched and hit the wrong button there. Lightning and wind is hooked up to Swiftcast. Time, and then cleansing, as I mentioned, to use resist on Jabberwock, and then these 4 buffs, which you can see there. And that was pretty much it. It's a good run, but enjoyed kind of going through it, and hope this video helps you as well. Be able to do a Cloud solo run. So thanks for listening. Appreciate it. If you like the content, certainly hit that subscribe button, like, and share.